This is the Ryan and Ashley in bed edition, minus the bed part.
I didn't think I was going to be nervous.
I know. I could tell you were nervous when we were doing our mic testing. Ryan hasn't spoken in public in a while.
So the thing is, it's hard to look into the camera and not the screen because we can see ourselves.
So this is what Ryan does when he's uncomfortable. He tells you all the technical things that you need to be focused on. So that, so that he feels more comfortable. But really, it's just a cop-out for how anxious he is to be on camera.
I'm pretty uncomfortable being on camera.
Yeah. So Ryan and I we used to do Facebook Lives often. Well, somewhat often. When we first met each other. It was a couple years ago. Yeah. And we would talk about stupid things like you going on like 70 Tinder dates.
Yeah. It was called Ryan and Ashley in Bed. So I titled this Ryan and Ashley in Bed.
Yes.
Which she disagrees with.
But you posted it on the Sunspice Wisdom page, right?
Your page is called Sunspice. It's not called Sunspice Wisdom.
On the Sunspice page. Yes, it did. Okay, good. Now I'm going to share it.
Okay. So I don't have Facebook anymore. So I can't share it.
That's okay. I'm just going to share it and tag you in it right now. And then all your friends can hear you talking.
It's literally just a live thing. So this just became much more interesting now that Ashley... Okay. So just so everyone knows, the point of this, supposedly, is to talk about things that are a bit uncomfortable to talk about. You could mute your phone.
I don't know how to mute my phone.
You literally don't know how to mute your phone?
I'm just going to share it. Honestly, I don't know how to share it on that. It's confusing to me. Facebook should have like just a simple...
You take over, explain what we're doing here.
Share button.
Okay, let's do this.
I realize it's a lot easier for me to talk to people that aren't my husband on my podcast. So we just got our kids to bed. Woo woo! It's time to party on a Saturday night, which means we're going to do a podcast together. So welcome to all you late nighters on Facebook that have nothing better to do than to talk to us. See, it's not intuitive.
It's not intuitive
it's super
whatsoever.
Unintuitive. We should talk to our friends at Facebook and tell them they need to fix that.
All right. Sure. Okay, I just posted it, but I didn't tag myself.
I know, because it's not, it's
very confusing.
It's really not well done.
All right, now what are we talking about today?
I don't know. You said you wanted to do this.
Yeah, I want to talk about first times.
You want to talk about Ryan and Ashley in bed?
Yeah, so talk about sex.
First times. We're going to talk about sex. We're going to talk about, what are we going to talk about? The worst and the best.
Whoa, I didn't know we were doing that. I can't believe I'm now on my phone for
just
this
stop.
long.
It's my phone. You should just stop it.
On your phone. Okay, I tagged myself.
Yay.
Now we're off of phones. Okay,
off of phones
I'm
now.
definitely going to need you to lead this clearly because I'm very uncomfortable right now. I haven't been on camera.
He was talking a big game before we go.
That's true. I was I was listening to WAP workout playlist to try and get myself pumped up.
If any of you have heard the latest Cardi B WAP song, just go ahead and do yourself a favor. You can listen to it in the background while we're talking. And I don't know, I feel like it would be great.
I tried to get Ashley to listen to it, but you were busy putting the kids to bed.
I was. He walked in when I was laying down, like cuddling my 8-year-old. He's 8. So he was like, will you snuggle with me? And you know, when they do that, you're like, yes, I will snuggle with you because this has not happened in months. So I lay down and then Ryan comes in. He knocks shit over. He's about to wake the kids back up and sticks this thing in my ear, and it's Cardi B WAP. Because that's really the song that I want to hear. Wet ass pussy when I'm snuggling my child to sleep.
I thought the juxtaposition would be funny.
It was great. It was funny. It made me laugh.
Okay. So what I said that I want to talk about was first things, right? So first kiss.
First kiss.
I have no idea what your first kiss was.
Was it like a kiss or a makeout session?
You decide what you count as your first kiss.
By the way, the Sunspice Wisdom Show, this edition is directly related to health because Ryan and I strongly believe that a healthy whole body perspective includes your sex health.
Yeah, so this should have been the beginning of the thing, but I was nervous. So I probably should have written something down for this first one. But basically, she and I both believe
vulnerability is sexy.
Well, yeah, and talking about these things that are uncomfortable. And maybe if we get uncomfortable together or I just get uncomfortable being on camera.
Maybe some of you will get uncomfortable too.
And in the future, we want to have people calling. Okay, I just saw myself in the reflection. I have a man bun.
We should explain the man bun.
She said that it would get clicks. So
to be fair, we were just laying down relaxing and I was playing with your hair before we... Yeah.
It was wonderful.
Yeah, it was lovely. The kids were like running around, dancing, whatever. It was great. And so I decided to attempt... I realized how long his hair was, so I decided to attempt to do a French braid.
Oh,
and that was as far as I got. And then I couldn't go any further. So I just man bunned it. And then I realized you were like my yogi guru.
It's like
for the night.
That's if she didn't have me, she'd have a yogi
it's a type
guru.
Of role play, I guess.
Or just silly haircuts. But we can talk role play later. I do want to know, you completely deflected. I said first kiss.
Well, I'm honestly trying to think, like, because I feel like I was kissing boys when I was 3.
That doesn't.
Okay, so that doesn't count.
Okay.
So you want like the first like makeout session? Was there tongue included? What are we? I mean,
I was just gonna go like a kiss with a boy.
Okay.
That you were real excited to kiss.
The art room. It was the art room. There was a was it 5th grade or 6th? I think 6th grade. Kellen Camus. I guess I'm calling you out if you ever see this. I did his last name too. That's horrible.
We can't bleep it. It's live.
Oh, no. Art room. And like there was this little, like, they were like, please go get some extra colored pencils. And I was like, okay. And over at my fresh boyfriend. And so we went and we got some colored pencils.
So
and
he knew what the wink was?
I mean, it was probably not as smooth.
Were you like, get over here?
I think he may have just followed me, honestly. I don't remember. I just remember he was there and it was hot. I mean, for 6th grade, it was like,
Jesus.
whoa.
I will never describe anything.
The watercolors.
I think these, I cannot speak to that.
Well, would you like to share your first kiss?
Yeah, it was the re-release of Star Wars.
Which one?
The first one, A New Hope. And
so I was like 3.
So yeah, I'm a little older than Ashley. So it was a re-release.
By the way, this is not a whole big thing of wine. This is cranberry juice and electrolytes, in case if you were wondering.
She already had the wine. Okay. So through the whole, now you're slurping into the mic. Through the whole movie.
That's like, what is that thing on YouTube?
It's ASMR.
People pay ASMR.
Yeah. From the beginning of the movie, I said, before the end of this movie, I'm going to kiss her. I was in 5th grade. My mother had driven us on, this was my first date. My mother, okay. I told my mom I wanted to take this girl on a date. And
so you were 10?
I guess, yeah. I guess in 5th grade, 11.
10? 11.
I think my mom just thought it was so adorable that her firstborn son was just like, I want to go on a date, that she would help me. And so she sat like 2 rows behind with my brothers, and then we sat in front. So I'm sure she saw this happen. Cute. But basically, I know how Star Wars goes. I'd already seen Star Wars. So Wait,
you had already seen it in the theaters?
No. This is a re-release. They re-released Star Wars in the early 90s. Okay. So I had seen it before when I was younger. Yeah. And I'm watching him, and he's driving through the tight area, and he's dodging. He's going to shoot, they're going to shoot and they're going to blow up the Death Star.
The scene.
Yeah. And I'm like, if this is the end of the movie.
Oh, this is my chance.
So this is my chance. So fifth grade me turns and just, I wish I could travel back in time to how awkward it must have been. But one thing I remember, I fully missed her lips, and I kissed her directly between her like lip here? And her nostril.
Oh God. Just missed it entirely.
And I missed it.
Wow.
But then
what a first kiss.
Yeah, it was
what
very
is that part of your body? What do you call that?
Your missing mustache.
I'm sure there's like an actual name.
Your upper lip?
An upper kiss, upper lip kiss.
Upper lip kiss. So I successfully had an upper lip kiss. However, that same girlfriend, whatever it is in 5th grade, she
what was her name?
Her name was Allison.
I was name dropping.
I'm not gonna last name.
I'm sorry, Kellen.
But I'm pretty sure she's friends with me on Facebook.
Happily married.
She's also happily married,
Mm-hmm.
and she seems like life is great based on very limited viewings of Facebook.
We should tag her.
That would be hilarious. Anyway, she was the aggressor.
Wow.
Yeah. So after this time, like I didn't know, I remember that we went to camp in 5th grade and she asked me if I knew what a French kiss was.
And what did you say?
No. And then she showed me.
Oh, wow. Tongue and all.
And she said that yeah, anyway. So that
I wonder who taught her how to do it.
This is where the stories we can't talk about others in the same way. I probably shouldn't even have said the first name. You definitely shouldn't have said the last name.
I'm really sorry.
Okay.
But I'm not sorry.
But yeah, so that was that first.
That's great.
What was the first time you thought you were in love? By the way, I don't ask these questions.
The first time I thought I was in love.
And were you in love?
I remember the first person that thought they were in love with me.
Okay. This is not the same person.
It was kindergarten.
Okay, well,
his name was Eric. He had like blonde hair.
And he just would tell you I love you all the time?
He would chase me to the point where I had to tell the teachers to tell them that he needed to stop chasing me because I felt uncomfortable. Stalker.
By the way, I'm curious if there's a way for you to look at comments on here
if anyone's commenting.
Chatting. So
why don't you talk about yours and then maybe I'll
time I thought I was in love. So brain. I am such a serial monogamist that I basically thought I was in love with everyone I dated. And I don't think I've ever voiced that. I've never said that. But
hey, Nicole, thanks for watching.
Oh, someone's watching?
Yeah, Nicole.
Oh, cool.
I bought a bralette from your store the other day. In fact, I'm wearing it right now. It's black. In case anyone was wondering.
It looks great. So yeah, I've never voiced that I just always have thought I was in love.
With anyone?
Anyone. I either knew I wasn't or I thought it was everything.
You were just like all in
or nothing.
Yeah.
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 And I think that's how I am in general.
I remember the first time I started feeling shame was when I would love someone so deeply for like a week and a half and we would date.
Okay.
And then I'd just like, they'd do something that was gross, like pick their nose in class. And I would be like,
And how old are we now?
We're done. Like probably 4th, 5th grade was when it started.
I think we need
but 6th grade, I remember.
I think we probably need to move out of the like age bracket
where we want to move out of middle school.
It's totally questionable whether we should speak about like
yeah.
I just didn't know anything about your first kisses, your first dates.
Yeah. Well, now you do.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Okay, let's
scratch the surface.
Let's talk about. Okay, I got a question for you. So for the audience that definitely doesn't know, and there may only be 0 of you, that's fine.
No, there's more.
Awesome. Welcome. So when I met Ash, within 6 months, she brought me up to where we are now, which is Orcas Island. I'd never been on a ferry. It was this new big adventure. And I was the first person, as far as I know, that was brought to the family. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You came on strong.
And the first conversation with Grandma Joan down the road.
And my dad, right?
No, this is specifically with Grandma Joan, was that she said, I don't know if she said, "Oh, he's young," or "Oh, he's your age," or there was some.
Really, you're bringing
there
this
was
up.
some comment.
He's got to bring this up.
There was some comment, and keep in mind, I'm 5.5 years older than you.
Yeah, you were the one and only person I ever brought home.
That wasn't like graying already.
No, I never brought anyone home.
Okay, but everyone else
see things on Facebook or like hear the grapevine that I was dating like a 45-year-old man.
Yeah, let's talk about that. You're 20 dating someone in their 40s.
Yeah.
Why? How? What's that like?
I mean, I think the logic, which I think most women would understand, is, when you have a kid young.
So we probably need to backtrack. She had a kid young.
Yeah, I mean, 19 and pregnant. I turned 20 when I gave birth. Okay, so
you weren't a teenager.
I was out of the teens.
You weren't a teen pregnancy on, what is that show called? 16 and Pregnant? You weren't that.
Yeah, not quite.
Okay, so 20 with a baby.
20 with a baby. I mean, I had turned 21 when I started kind of dating, I guess.
Okay. So you gave it a year.
I did. I gave it a year. I dated like 1, maybe 2 people after I had him very briefly, of which I won't name names, one of which might be watching very well. I think maybe is watching. And then I met, this older guy, and it just made sense to me because I thought, well, in my mind, it made sense to have someone that was older and more quote unquote mature. But the reality actually was this man, because he had never had a family, had kids, never went through that whole experience, he had no fucking idea what it actually meant to be a mother. And well, he knew what it meant to be a mother. He didn't know what it meant to be a good mother. So he didn't understand that why I couldn't just like throw my son with my mom for a couple of weeks to go to Burning Man with him or to go party with him. And he wanted to insist that I was missing out on life, which was my those were my big red flags.
So,
and that ultimately was why it didn't last.
But did that make you stop pursuing older men?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it really was just one. I mean, I dated someone that was, in his mid 30s, or I guess early 30s.
So what she's saying is there was only one guy that was 20 years older than her and everyone else was 15.
God.
This is true.
Yeah. I mean.
So, but similar, okay.
But I think a lot of women get it because I actually know, Miley Cyrus on the Joe Rogan show even said, I need to find an older guy. So I'm not I don't think I'm crazy with this logic of finding an older man. I think the amount of years maybe was
it took a bit of time.
It was a far stretch. Yeah. Yeah. There's like this point where you're like, why didn't you have a family? Why didn't you get married? Why didn't you at least have a very, very long-term relationship that was supposed to go in that direction? Then you're kind of like,
Yeah, well, we also
that to me is like, well, there's no really strong commitments that you've made in your life.
It's also important to mention that we were both in LA. We met in LA.
Yeah.
There is a man boy mentality in LA.
We call it the Peter Pan syndrome.
Sure.
Well, we as in me.
Yeah, but it blew me away because where I grew up, I felt like there were kind of just rules, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got to an age, you had some kids, you got married, blah, blah, blah. You were upstanding. My
phone died.
Great. So
I can't comment on any of your comments.
And
thank you all
Facebook,
for watching.
So what's up? So yeah, there's definitely a belief by me that happened pretty quickly moving to LA that at a certain age, the man was just presenting as often incapable or not desiring to hold down any sort of commitment.
Yeah. Yeah, but they were always very interested in single mothers, which was interesting. That
is interesting. Mm-hmm. I never thought that I would date a single mother. Yeah. We haven't really talked about that a lot before.
Yeah, you had you had an idea. What was your judgment around dating a single mom?
Oh, only the things that are true, that it's really complicated.
Yeah.
So to me, and this is something that is true about me, has always been true about me.
For those of you just hopping on, Ryan doesn't always wear a man bun like this. I did it special for you guys tonight.
She said she needed clickbait.
Well, I'm wearing jammies, and so I had to put on my epic necklace to cover the fact that I'm wearing jammies, freshly showered.
Anyone that knows me just knows I do what my wife says.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow I feel very confident in my manhood while admitting that. But
you should. It's a good look.
So what were we talking about? And then you had to go back to the man bun.
We were talking about you being a little apprehensive about dating
judgmental
me.
About you.
Yes.
Okay, so when I met you, I immediately was like, wow, right? And at the time, I was in a relationship and basically...
He told me that he was staring at my ass for a very long time, walking behind me.
And I ignored her because...
He was in another relationship.
This is true.
Yeah.
And then
I felt guilty about it.
Then I felt like I had a get out of jail free card because I was really turned off by the fact that you had a baby. So I was able to justify in my head.
Oh, right. I see. You're like, okay, well, obviously that's too much. Yeah. For me, I was like, oh, he's into Asians. I'm not that.
Jesus Christ. Wow. So.
Which I was wrong.
Stop.
That was a false assumption.
I guess I have lines on this show and anyway.
Do you have line? Well, that was a line for you. Okay. Well, it's a joke now. And I actually say it because I laugh at myself for being so judgmental around that, because I made this sort of
judgmental of me.
Well, not judgment, more, it was just this false assumption
about who I was.
It was a total stereotype that I made falsely. And I can like candidly, openly admit to that.
And I did the same thing with assuming that basically the fact that you had another man in your life was my perspective, right?
Mm-hmm,
that would be too much for me.
Yeah. Which at times
which it has been,
yeah.
Right? And I feel confident saying we've been through it.
Yeah.
Right? The process of me becoming Eli's father was not simple, but frankly, when we met and we sat and we talked, I mean, the second we met, I was just like, I'm marrying this woman. I walked you to your car, and I should say not when we met, because we just said I was in a relationship. Once I was out of it, and then we met up and went on a date. And
I went into his hotel room on our first date.
She started walking to my hotel room.
I was scared it was dark, and we were on the Venice boardwalk.
We were on the Venice boardwalk.
There were creepy guys talking to us.
And I said, hey, look, that's where I'm staying. And you just started walking to it. And I was like, and I just kept walking.
I just leaned.
No. You kept going. And I was like, oh, you planning to go to the hotel room with me? And you just blushed.
I laughed so hard.
So red. It is the reddest you have ever been. And probably
because
ever
the thought
will
was,
be.
I hope he doesn't think that I had some plan, which you probably did, but I had no plan. I think it was just like when someone tells me, oh, there's my like I thought it was like, oh, I guess that's what he wants to do now, but this shows clearly wasn't. It was not what he wanted to do. And
I would, in that moment, like, I wish me today could go back to me in my 20s and tell me that I can do things like that. Because the truth is I was so insecure that you wouldn't be into me that I wouldn't even believe. Even after we're hitting it off, we're taking a walk, you're smiling at me. I'm still
by the way, our first date was a business meeting.
It was a business meeting. That's true.
We were meeting for business, which that is funny when we think about where we're at right now in our life with our businesses. I mean,
well, we still work together like constantly.
Very much.
Yeah. So when we met, we both thought when we met on that business meeting, both of us thought the other one was in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I was just incorrect, and she didn't know that I was now out of a relationship. And about halfway through, I said, can we make this not a business meeting?
And then I ordered a glass of wine, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or
a margarita.
I think I offered you. I think I made it.
Yeah, definitely.
I did a good job.
You did really good.
And that's why when we walked,
smooth.
That's why when we went on a walk, she went, oh,
and on our
first
date, we were talking about like, I just remember like we were talking about the universe and cells and our perception on religion.
That turned on.
Oh man, do you want me to?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna talk about
fix something real quick.
We have a, what is it? The ice machine? That's fine. Okay, so Ash just tripped over the light, almost busted the light and her leg. Okay, so I had a thing. Ash said that when we used to do this show, we'd talk about how I'd go on 70 Tinder dates. This is all true. I had a period of time in my what's that?
That's the ice maker.
You can't turn it off?
No.
All right, well, now it's going to be, anyway. Okay.
It's fine.
So I had a thing I would ask everybody, which is I wanted to talk to people about eugenics. And the reason I wanted to talk to people on a first date about eugenics is that I can't think of anything more uncomfortable to talk about. Because on the face value, it sounds horrible. It's about the most complicated thing to even have a conversation about from an academic perspective without sounding like a horrible person. And I would have that conversation starter because if somebody just said no or wouldn't engage, I knew they wouldn't be interested in all the weird things.
You should tell people what eugenics mean.
Eugenics is prioritizing a certain sort of like bloodline in the birthing of people to control the direction of the evolution of people. And I think it's horrible.
Sounds horrible.
But the point is that I blushed when I just said this because now we're live, right?
Mm-hmm.
And whether or not someone's going to blush and shut down or have a conversation about a horrible topic, now that you know me, it's a pretty good way for me it's a litmus test to find out if anyone will actually enjoy my company.
Yeah.
The person who isn't interested in that probably is just going to find me largely obnoxious. or she still finds me partially.
Which at times, there have definitely been times where I'm like, you need to shush your brain
Yeah,
off.
how often do I talk too much?
I've gotten a lot better. Like way better.
Hold that thought. When my wife compliments me like this, I just got to take it in. This is the small victories. I've gotten better.
Yeah. Maybe it's because you quit caffeine and started using Sunspice every day.
Oh, is this how it becomes a commercial?
Yeah.
So this is true, and we can talk about this.
Yeah.
Because I was really addicted to caffeine and coffee. And then I also had anxiety. So this actually stems from why I would never be confident enough to assume that a woman would go to my bedroom so quickly.
Because you suffered from anxiety?
I was scared of like I would be there sweating profusely, concerned she wouldn't like me, making up a story in my head. And it didn't matter whether, like, there were moments where I wasn't interested in the woman on a first date. And I was still so concerned about judgment and all this BS that I was like stuck in my head in this horrible place. I can still
make him sweat like that.
What's that?
Nervously sometimes.
I do sweat nervously. And now she giggles at me when she's able to achieve it. But so anxiety, back to caffeine, which is that I was having some stomach issues, stopped doing coffee, started doing Spice, which is Ashley's coffee alternative.
Yeah.
That stopped with the stomach issues, but I still had anxiety. I read a bit more and just basically decided to quit caffeine.
Yeah.
Now I'm 3.5 months, I think. And
because what would happen is you would consume caffeine and it'd be like, da, 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 crash. And then you might have another one, da, 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 crash.
Okay. And now I'm more just like, da, 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 da.
Yeah, totally. That's exactly. Yeah.
I'm just singing my way along now.
Just singing your way. Just slowly skipping along the road.
Okay, so I'm anxious.
It's like less of the huge. I wonder if you quitting caffeine will mean that our life won't be like this all the time. I'm just kidding. Most of it was actually caused by me.
She's not kidding. That's not true.
The ups and down?
No, large chaotic changes in our lifestyle are you?
Yeah, that's
but the
what I
up and
meant.
down day to day is my fault.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I very much have clarity on that.
That is the difference between, this is where the yin and yang comes in, is like on a daily basis, you're always sort of like moving through things.
Yeah.
And that is where our challenges will be, which, you know.
But long term, I'm stable as hell.
Long term, the most stable guy. So when I throw a wrench at you, like, hey, this isn't going to work unless we move somewhere else. That's like just.
And at this point,
that's how I do it.
Yeah. And my attitude is just make enough money to make sure whatever her crazy plans are get executed. It's like literally the simplest version of my existence at this point. But this has become less about, I'm interested in going back to conversations about first dates. Best first date you've ever had that didn't have a second date. And if you don't have one, that's fine. I just made that up on the spot.
The best first date. I never really dated.
Explain.
Because at the point that I didn't date a whole lot in high school. I had like one boyfriend for a year and a half, and then I dated a few people in between there. But as far as like adult dates, there were several horrible Tinder dates that I went on.
Let's talk about those then.
But I didn't get one good one.
Okay. So maybe I can answer the first question, then I want to go into your horrible first dates.
I had one okay one.
Do you want to? But it didn't have a second?
It was okay, but it always ended up me becoming like more of like a mom therapist. Like
right now?
No.
Okay.
It just would like, and I think I naturally was curious, and I'm, you know me, I'm the person, I just go like right to you. I'm like, even if I don't realize I'm doing it, I end up asking that one question that like makes you uncomfortable or that like.
I can speak to the fact that I feel uncomfortable sometimes with the questions that she asks people.
Yeah, totally.
I'll be like, I just don't know if I would ask that.
Yeah. So and then it will like, open up.
So you're like, so why are you upset with your father? Like,
no, I literally had a really intense conversation with someone because they made a comment about them not liking their mother. And I was like, well, I don't know if I could ever go on another date with you because that was the thing.
And this was the okay date?
It was a good date. He was smart and very wealthy. Had a lot of money. But I was just like, I could not get around the fact that he had a bad relationship with his mother. So I knew that wouldn't. And I went on one more date with him after, actually.
Lies.
And then it ended. So I guess technically,
2 dates.
Well, I guess it wasn't really a date. I like went over to his house and I was like, your house is way too perfect. You got a lot of shit going on, Like if you walk into a man's house and he's by himself and his house is like perfect and way too detailed, like he had someone custom like put.
Gotcha.
You're just like, but there's no other woman there. It's freaky.
To all the men out there who have filthy homes, my wife just said that's a plus.
No, it's just.
So the rich guy,
yeah,
who is super smart and had a great big immaculate house, and you're in your 20s and you have a kid,
yeah,
and he's interested, and he doesn't like his mom, so you're out.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so I had this gets to something else, which is I didn't know how hard of a reviewer you were when it came to men. Because if I had known how ruthless she was, where the story she's told me, which I'm sure will unravel, if not this episode in the future, about men that she just was like doing stuff with whatever, who she just decided to just bounce on for some various reason that to me, I feel like she could have judged on me.
Do you want me to just tell them what it was?
Sure. I don't know which one you're talking. I feel like you've told me multiple.
Well, there's two.
Yeah. Dive in. What's going on?
I don't actually want to talk. It's too soon.
It's too soon. Okay. Soon. So I can answer the best date that didn't have a second date.
Okay.
So I went on a lot of Tinder dates. Ashley's already set that up. The best date that didn't have a second date was when, and this has to do with the fact that I always had anxiety. One of the reasons why I took all these first dates was an attempt to be more comfortable speaking to women, talking to women, maybe trying to make out with women, right? And not just try to figure out how to make them want to be my wife, which I feel like was the immature version of me, just trying to convince women to be my wife. And so this date's happening, and I can't tell if this woman has any interest in me. We're having fine conversation. She's pretty older than me.
Pretty older as in 10 years?
She was 7 years older than me.
7.
Which, that was
and how old were you?
I was, I don't know. Actually, no, she may have been 10 years older. I think I might have been 27 and she was 37 or something like that. But at the end of the day, I couldn't tell if she was interested. So I just I spun her around and dipped her a little bit and started making out with her. It was the only time I ever done anything like that. I'd never had any courage at all. And she was interested and said, whoa, you're good at that, right? I had this, and that was such a boost to my ego for this anxious whatever. And it went smoothly and it was delightful and whatever. And I ended up finding out that the reason why she wasn't showing interest is because she had started dating somebody and didn't want to. So she's like, it was great, but no. And so that was it. But it was an awesome.
Was this a Tinder date too?
What's that?
It was a Tinder date?
It was a Tinder date, but it was an awesome first date because I got courage. And I know sometimes today, this whole idea of being forward when it comes to kissing and all that stuff sometimes steps on, is it, on consent, which is a big hot topic conversation.
Yeah.
And that's also something for me at the time that was really complicated because I would simultaneously see that if I was a bit more aggressive or if other men were, women would respond to that.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you want to be respectful.
Oh, yeah.
I find that line to be really complicated. I'm not sure you're.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, like I always want a guy to sweep me off my feet, you know?
But what if you don't like him?
Oh, well then you just tell him to ease off and you're not interested.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Because
it doesn't have to be that complicated. People make it more. I think women are really good at making things way more complicated than it needs to be. It's like it's either a go or it's not. And if it's not, then it's just a no and move along. And the minute that no becomes pushed, well, then they're walking into deep fire. But
so now I'm gonna take the like devil's advocate position on that, which is that I feel that many women that I've heard speak to this, mutual friends of ours, would speak to sort of power dynamics between men and women. Mm-hmm. But you seem to not worry about that, care about that, consider that. Why do you think that is?
I mean, when you say power dynamics, do you mean this whole idea of like the man opening the door for me?
No. Well, okay. Well, that was one of the things that was complicated for me. I didn't know whether I was supposed to open the door for dates.
Whenever there was a man or someone that would open a door for me, it was such a sign of respect that I appreciated it so much. And this whole like a woman can open her own door, like shut the fuck up. Like just accept the fact that someone wants to be courteous and get over yourself.
I didn't expect to be the person in the conversation who was like pushing the idea of, but okay, so I do want to
because
speak.
it is degrading. Just like women have been degraded so much.
But what is degrading?
Well, it's degrading to not accept courtesy from the opposite sex.
Okay. Well, to be fair, I wasn't speaking. That's a interesting conversation topic. What I was speaking to more was the fact that like there is a belief that men have traditionally been in a more aggressive position or a more controlling position in that sexual relationship, right? Uh-huh. So many women maybe don't feel the authority to put their foot down in circumstances where they're not happy with what's going on.
Right.
But that doesn't seem to have ever, like, you are the most ruthless person, man or woman, I've ever heard of with telling people no.
Yeah, I mean, it is a complicated dynamic when you're dealing with a woman who we're naturally nurturing and naturally want to make sure that whoever is around us, I think, are happy and healthy and feeling good, you know, and that relationship goes into, you know, our children, our husband, whoever, you know, our friendships, relationships, and it gets complicated because there's this line that you have to walk where you want to make sure people are happy while at the same time you're not disrespecting yourself. And I think that gets really, really complicated when you're talking about the male-female dynamic when it comes to intimate relationships, because I think it is like embedded in a woman to support and serve just through like, you know, I mean, it just from a lineage perspective, right? Like that's just what we were doing. And I think, go ahead.
No, to me, that's pretty profound. This idea that the desire to nurture even somebody who's not treating you well, potentially, can lead to a power dynamic that is not healthy in that circumstance.
Yeah.
So what have you done to mitigate that in your life? Because I mean it when I say it. I feel like you blow me away with how clear, when you tell me stories, at least I clearly wasn't there, right?
Right.
But it feels to me like you always took charge in those circumstances.
I mean,
or did you not? Did you learn from?
I definitely had to learn through a few different relationships. Yeah, I mean, where I got this sort of like forthright, know where to like put the boundary up versus where to give. I think it's been a process. I think part of it has been finding the right partner to work through that with and to be able to balance that expression of me out. But I think the way unfortunately, I think the way that I got there was through trauma. I think it was through being sexually mistreated. I think it was through being verbally, abused to a degree that was really degrading and very, very hard to overcome. But there was this small piece of me, and I think anyone who's been through trauma can kind of relate to this. And that small piece of you, sometimes you don't even know what it is. You can't explain it. It's that little voice in your head that says you're better than that, you're beyond that. And that same little voice is the thing that helped give me the courage and the security to progress in my life and not just like survive through it, but also thrive through it and just kind of move into my next relationships more gracefully and having had those boundaries pushed and manipulated and just overall just really hurt. I think I was able to use those as my tools. There was like there are tools in my little toolbox now of I don't know, just I think we learn the best when we're given things that are really, really hard and traumatic to an extreme degree that it's so clear what the opposite of that would be. And that's kind of been my life, I think, in general, in many ways. So not to go really deep because we were supposed to be talking about our first.
It's really hard for me whenever you talk about being sexually mistreated. And I didn't intend for that conversation to bleed into that part of you. But I do think that there's a lot of power in what you're saying, that sometimes the horrible experiences are what allow for us to see the true path. And so maybe just talking on here, like, I'm sure that more will come up over time through live speaking to some form of an audience, but you're a very inspiring woman when it comes to these things.
Thanks.
And I haven't faced anything like that in my life, thankfully.
Yeah.
But the strength you've garnered from it is something I hold on to and cherish.
Oh. Well, I mean, it's, sadly, it's something that has many of my family members have gone through, which I only learned later on. It was like I heard about the stories later on in life. And the truth is I know how even though it's messed up, there's this weird part that was like, I'm not alone. Like this is
when you learned about your family,
my family or friends, my situation, I think my situation is on the more intense side compared to others. But I think there's just this sort of variation of mistreatment that happens. And I don't know, I guess I'm hoping to see that more women come out of it and use it as like the biggest fucking shield to be able to like propel through whatever they want in life.
Because they already went through the hardest thing.
Because they already went through the hardest thing.
Yeah.
It is the hardest thing. And talking about it, and not I mean, it's hard to talk about.
It's hard.
But it also, like, even though I'm talking about it and it's hard, right? Like I feel power in it. I have power in it. I have, it is the driving force behind me that kind of says, no one can fuck with me. And you know that about me.
I don't know that that's the driving force. I know that you are, when makes sense. When we started dating, people would ask me, tell me about Ashley. And I'd say, she's the strongest person I've ever met in my life. And I didn't know then. I mean, I knew.
Yeah.
But like, I just felt that there was something.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was.
Well, and I'm still working on healing from it. You know, it's such a process. And the funny thing is when you finally start, and this goes along with this idea of like being in tune with your body more. And once you start moving and you become more in tune with your body, which, you know, has everything to do with your health, you start realizing where these emotions and these traumas have like sorted themselves out or like stuck within your body. And so I'm right in that process of talking about it, acknowledging it, not being afraid of it, not feeling shame by it. And what that process does for me too is it starts showing me these pain points within my physical body that I still have to like work through, which also is an emotional component to it. But I know that also is a huge part of our intimate relationship and us being able to grow and securely grow in an environment that's really safe. I think the most important thing for a woman who's been through sexual trauma is to, you know, and I just hope that they, you know, whoever they're able to find that person that they can sit and feel safe with, man, woman, like I don't care who it is, but to find that person that they can just sit with and feel completely secure to go through it all, as ugly and as traumatic as it is. I mean, that's you're my guy for that. So
I'm glad it's not someone else.
Me too.
Well, but you know, man, I didn't know that this. Okay, but
does our camera die at some point? I just want to make sure.
Well, if it's still on there, it's still on.
We're good.
And if it goes, it goes.
Yeah.
We're still working together.
Yeah.
And it's not just you, right? We all have, not everyone. Most people have something related to this, right? So
I mean, like with yours, you talk about how you suffer from anxiety. Like that definitely has to do with what happened to you in high school, and that's something.
It has nothing to do with sex, but the truth is that it does impact it, right? So we all have our things that impact. I was trying to speak to the fact that like the reason I wanted to talk to you, because she asked me, what do you want to talk about? And I was like, let's talk about sex. And the reason, and that I just mean male-female relationships. And the reason I think that is that when I see the most successful people, they've usually figured this portion out. I think that the most successful in terms of health and happiness, the intimate stuff, the stuff that you don't always see, the stuff that's not on, let's say, the cover of a magazine, but the stuff that happens behind doors when you sit and you chat and you let your wife put a man bun in your hair, even though you look like an asshole. You know, those are really important parts of health.
I remember in our beginning stages, which is when things started getting a little bit.
When you wanted to break up with me?
More intimate with us. We can talk about that later if you want. Talking about me.
No, go continue.
It was a break, short break.
And just like it was,
quick
what was that like with friends?
What?
It was a break.
I don't know.
And you went on a date with like the soap maker.
Oh my God, no.
I still remember it.
I thought he was gay. I was really confused.
Okay, continue.
Anyways, well, now I lost my thought because you kept interrupting.
I had to remind her of that soap maker.
What were we talking about? That wasn't the soap maker.
Before that?
Yeah.
We don't have playback.
You don't remember.
I don't remember. This might be when we admit we're new to this.
No,
so we were talking about sexual health, and we were talking about the importance of
Oh yes, but there was a point where we had only been dating for a couple months, and we just ended up I just remember crying in your arms like a lot. Do you remember that? And we do that every once in a while where we just like we realize one of us needs to just hold each other and just be there to like let the other person process and go through whatever it is that they need to process. And sometimes we don't even know exactly what it is. But I remember when we first got together, and it was often when we were being intimate or like around that time or after or something would come up, and I would have to like work through that.
That's how I knew you'd had trauma.
Yeah.
Because Yeah.
Yeah. But that's definitely a part of our dynamic in our relationship, which I think is something that's I believe is to be very
in case anyone's
be there to hold each other when we both need it. It could be something big. It could also be something that's like just we didn't even realize it was building up.
Well, I pride myself on being a man with a 6-pack who cries a lot. Right, like
you should be proud of that.
I'm crying now on the first time I'm on your podcast.
You're gonna show your 6-pack now?
No, I'm not. I'm just making a point that like it's don't judge a book by its cover or whatever you want to say. That a part of intimacy, love, sex, all these things they wrap around. They're not the same thing, but they all involve partnership with your significant other. All of these things are a part of health.
Yeah,
and
a very crucial part of health.
And so I would like to continue with this, show being that sort of late night, and we'll figure out the lighting so it's clearly nighttime and we'll make it a little sexier.
He looks over at the screen and
I'm looking at this screen. I'm realizing it's just we have daytime light, but you just can see that the sun's not out. But we need like the sexy looking light, the mood lighting.
Yeah,
to talk about first times? We basically completely sidestepped all that.
It's okay. We have the salt candle. Yes,
it adds a little candle. Color.
It's really nice.
Touch
the Himalayan salt candle. The light.
I didn't know those were actually salt until recently, and I licked one.
Oh, yeah. How did that feel?
It was intense because you told me it was real salt, and I'm like, "Can I lick it?" And you said, "Yeah."
You said recently. That was like 2 years ago.
No, that wasn't. Maybe I don't think it's 2 years ago. Maybe I licked them a lot. Okay. So you said it's that time of the night. Do you have a question for me? Are we going to wrap this up and join? One thing I do want to do is I want to make sure that people, if you like this, please tell us.
Also, definitely leave some comments. Let us know if you like it. Also, just don't be afraid to share it. We love a little share here and there. And then next time we do it, or maybe in a couple weeks, we plan to let you guys call in.
We're going to do a call-in thing if we all want to chat about a certain topic.
Yeah.
And there'll be a link that you can join. It's going to be after our kids go to bed.
Yeah. It's definitely like PG-13.
Okay. So that lets me know it's not R.
Right. And I hope like there aren't 8, 9, 10-year-olds like checking out Sunspice Wisdom podcast, late night. I think we'll be good.
I don't think that's a problem.
Yeah.
So we wrapping it up?
I think so.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Please do comment any topics you'd like us to discuss. I would love to know.
Specifically around intimacy and sex and health.
Intimacy, sex, love, how those connect to
health.
Female health. I have a lot to learn there.
Male health.
I have a lot to learn there.
Prostate health.
Yeah.
Ovarian health.
There's a lot of stuff.
Breast health.
But it starts with talking about it. That's the point here. Thank you for joining us.